Welcome to the Men of Iron podcast, changing a culture one man at a time. At Men of Iron, we equip men and grow godly leaders through creating and sustaining one-to-one and micro-group mentorships. Go to menofiron.org for more info. Thanks for listening. What is up, world? Welcome to the Men of Iron podcast. It's Steve and Justin live from Willow Street, PA. J-Dub, how you doing, man?
It's always good to be in Willow Street.
What's going on with the Watkins family?
They're actually not here. This is the first time we've filmed here, and I haven't had to imprison one of them into a bedroom while we film, so this is good.
I know it's fun filming here just because the audio sounds great compared to our office space, which is big and echoey. But yeah, I always feel bad having to trap your family in a closet while we record.
Yeah, this is good. This is really good.
I love it. Episode 28 is brought to you by Mill 72 Bake Shop and Cafe in Manheim, PA, not far from the Men of Iron headquarters. A family-owned cafe and bake shop where you can connect and unwind. Go to mill72.com to find out more. We would love to introduce our special guest for episode 28, Brett Kolomyjec. Brett is the co-founder and CEO of DateBox, a monthly subscription service helping couples rediscover date night. He hosts the Better Together podcast with his wife, Devin, a podcast for couples by couples. Brett and Devin reside in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. What's going on, Brett? Welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, man. How you doing out there?
Doing wonderful. It's been a good week, and yeah, grinding, I'm sure, as you guys are. And so, yeah, it's a pleasure to be on, and I'm excited to chat with you guys today.
Awesome. We are happy to have you. Does that make you a Thunder fan being out there in OKC?
It doesn't actually. My wife and I are both originally from the Seattle area, and so the Thunder's actually kind of a painful memory for me when the Sonics left Seattle.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always joke with friends that I'm just following the Sonics wherever they go. So once they leave OKC, you'll know where to find me. But yeah, it's I'm actually kind of a fan of everybody in the NBA but the Thunder. So people here don't like me that much.
That's all right. As a Sixers fan, I dislike the Thunder a lot too, just because Westbrook seems to have something against the Sixers. So
yeah. So I'll just be a Sixers fan from now on.
I love it. There we go.
Yeah.
So Brett, we'd love to just hear a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, well, so I'm 30 years old. I'm married to my wife, Devin. We've been married for 6 years. I'd love to say we were high school sweethearts, but we weren't. We were good friends in high school. But I think that I was probably far too immature to date her at that time, and it's probably a good thing that we both liked each other and wanted to date in high school, but we just kind of never made that connection because I was too stupid. So, yeah, I always say that God kind of saved that and preserved it for later on in life when it was more meaningful. We don't have kids yet. We have 2 dogs, Tully and Gideon, and we live in Oklahoma City. And, yeah, just living life one day at a time. And, we love to spend time outdoors. We love to watch sports. My wife's a designer, so she does historical architecture and design. And, so that's kind of our life in a 15-second nutshell.
Awesome. Well, we're about to hit you with take 5. Are you ready for it?
Sure.
All right, here we go. Take 5 question number 1 is, what is the most embarrassing or funniest thing that ever happened to you?
Oh, man, most embarrassing or funny thing? That's a good question, man. There's been so much. So probably my first day at junior high school, you've got the hormones working. You're trying to make a good impression. You've got 6 elementary schools converging into one. So you're trying to figure out where you stand. The very first day getting off the bus in junior high, I caught my foot at the top of the stairs when the bus doors opened. And so I face planted down 3 stairs onto the pavement, getting off the bus on the first day of school. And I was in band. And so I was carrying my trumpet, and it the case popped open and the mouthpiece rolled all the way down the bus ramp, and I had to chase it. And I was just that guy. So definitely started junior high behind the 8 ball there. But yeah, that's probably the most embarrassing thing, just because at that age, you still care so much about what people think of you, and you're trying to be popular and make a good impression. And so, yeah, that was quite the day.
You've recovered since then, though.
I think I recovered a little bit. I think it took me a while to get my first girlfriend in junior high, but we changed the perception. Okay, hopefully.
There's a message there to everyone else out there. If you're young, there's still hope. You can fall down the stairs and you can recover.
Get back up.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Question number 2 is, what is you and Devin's favorite date night spot?
Oh, man, that is a good question. There's probably a Mexican restaurant here that we go to a lot here in OKC called Barrios. We just love it. My wife almost exclusively picks which restaurants we go to based on the design aesthetic of the place, not necessarily the food. So that's probably the place that matches both our preferences the best. I'm a big fan of good fajitas and a margarita, and the design aesthetic of the restaurant is great, so it gives her stuff to be interested in as well, and she doesn't necessarily care what we eat, so that's kind of how we choose.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Question number 3. So I know you're a big sports fan. Better fan experience, a game at Cameron Indoor or CenturyLink Field?
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot.
I
All the
know.
Seattle people are going to hate me for this answer. But I got to say Cameron Indoor, man. It was, I mean, partially for me, it was the nostalgia too. Like growing up, I was a big Duke fan.
Yeah.
Loved Coach K and always wanted to go to a game at Cameron Indoor. So for me, that's a little bit of like built up excitement and a long time coming of a dream of seeing a game there. And I got to do that last year. So yeah, I would say Cameron Indoor, but CenturyLink is obviously like, it's tough to beat, and from a hometown stadium, like you can't really get much better than that.
That's awesome.
So I apologize to all my Seahawk fans out there. It's not going to go over super wild, but you know, Cameron Indoor is like the one place that you could have got me with that question on. So
That's all right. You did pledge your allegiance to the Sonics and how much you hate the Thunder, so I think you're okay.
Yeah, okay, good. I get a pass.
All right, question number 4 for Take 5 is, what's the best book you've read lately?
Oh man, the best book I've read lately. So I don't actually read a ton. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I don't know if that counts. I know people are pretty split on that opinion of whether or not that technically counts as reading. But I read a book, and I forget the name of the author off the top of my head, but it was called Never Split the Difference. And it was just about negotiating tactics. And it was a guy that came out of the FBI and Harvard Business School, and just talking about the psychology of negotiation and like where people stand and sort of how to leverage just some of that psychology in business specific negotiations. So it was really interesting, and yeah, I'd probably say that one.
Awesome. All right, final question for Take 5, and then we'll get into the meat of the podcast. Is, what is your greatest career achievement to date?
Oh man, golly, I don't know. Probably just getting a job out of college. I feel like that's like the hardest step. Just like being employable at some level and kind of like tricking somebody into hiring me right out of college. I did some work with a nonprofit right out of college, and that was really fun. And then went on to do some sales stuff after that before starting Datebox. So I don't know. I'm kind of the type of person that I don't celebrate like accomplishments very well. So I feel like I struggle with nothing is ever good enough a little bit. So I have a hard time really recognizing any level of accomplishment because I feel like I'm just a person that's not super content along the way. And so, yeah, I would probably point to that. But definitely feel like, you know, nothing's been earned so far, and every day is still kind of trying to prove yourself and, you know, accomplish those things that drive and motivate you. So.
Awesome. I love it, man.
Yeah.
Well, that was Take 5. You did pretty good.
Awesome. That was fun. Yeah, rapid fire. Do you ask those same 5 questions to everybody, or is it different?
There's some that kind of overlap, but we try to, you know, switch them up here and there.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Gotta keep you off your toes.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
We got to wake you up because you said you've been traveling and you were up at 4 a.m. Is that right?
Yeah. That gets the mind going. So yeah, a lot of flight delays last night. Got in about 4:45, But yeah, the Take 5. I need to do that every morning and have a team just ask each other questions, get everybody sharp.
Well, if you want Justin and I to call you every morning at 8, we can, and just kind of hit you with pepper you with some questions.
There we go. Virtual coffee, donuts, and Take 5.
Love it. Well, we'd love to kind of, you know, get into. We're definitely gonna, you know, get into the story of Datebox and how you and Devin are impacting marriages, not only through Datebox, but, you know, just your podcast as well. But before we dive into that, I'd love to kind of hear your personal faith journey, Brett.
Yeah, so I grew up in a Christian household, actually. So my mom took us to church every Sunday and really invested in our lives and just led us to a relationship with the Lord. So I would say that my faith journey has been one that's been blessed and has had a lot of grace in it, and that I was fortunate enough to be introduced to the Lord at a young age. So grew up in the church, was fortunate to have really good friends. Came to the Lord personally at age 14. Obviously had some ups and downs there. But yeah, the Lord's just been faithful to me in really allowing me to walk with him for a long time. Obviously, you know, we all have those different struggles and those different moments of doubt and things along the way. but I would say I'm a person that didn't have like a defining moment or a defining like point in time where the Lord became real and revealed himself to me in a moment of like walking away or doubting him or kind of ignoring his existence like a lot of people do. But in my personal opinion, I think there's a lot of grace and a lot of testimony in the Lord, the way that he revealed himself to me at a young age and has delivered me through different stages of my life. And so yeah, accepted the Lord at 14 and have been walking with him ever since.
That's awesome, man. Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to hear the story of Datebox, how it came about, and what are you guys up to today?
Yeah, so we started Datebox about 3 years ago, and it's kind of ironic. The initial inspiration for the company actually came from a good friend of mine who went through a divorce. He was about 2 years or so into his marriage, and my wife and I were good friends with him and his wife. And I was a groomsman in his wedding and played baseball with him in college, and still to this day consider him one of my closest friends. And I don't know if he necessarily even knows this story or that he's the inspiration for Datebox. But he and his first wife went through a really sudden divorce. And my wife and I, in debriefing that with them, it came as a shock to everybody. And so, just kind of hearing the story and hearing the details of what had happened from him and her, one of the things we heard them say was, we just drifted apart, and it felt like that we were two people living under the same roof, but we didn't really have much of a relationship. It didn't feel like we were married or together. It just kind of felt like we came home to the same place every night, and we were roommates and kind of administered a life together, but didn't share much else. And so there was some infidelity in the marriage, and that's what ultimately ended up causing it to split up. And so our first reaction to that, as my wife and I talked about it, Devin and I kind of said, that really is, we feel like we resonate with that a lot more than we had ever realized we would. And so, that was scary to us because we were about a year and a half, 2 years into marriage as well. And, here's our friends that are going through this sudden divorce, and their lives really are crumbling in front of their very eyes. And, when we're honest with ourselves, we kind of feel like we're in that same boat a lot more than we wanted to be too. And so, that was a decision that we just kind of made at the time to say, hey, what's one thing that we can do to just make sure that we're intentional about our marriage and commit to making sure that we don't drift apart. And date night was kind of that thing that we decided on. And we just found ourselves in a place where date night and quality time together had become stale. You end up at the same restaurant, the same movie theater over and over again, and the conversation gets dry and the routine gets dry. And, even over time, we found ourselves just not even wanting to do that. And so we just decided to do date night at least one time a month and sort of make that our thing. And so as we got into that, we had kind of shared that with some other couples and some mentors of ours, and just kind of realized that maybe other couples would like to do that same thing, and that maybe what we were feeling and what our friends had been through wasn't that uncommon. And so we started Datebox, and we just decided let's build a community of people who are making that same commitment to date night and doing it one time a month. And so Datebox just kind of serves as a way, both as a reminder and also a way to make that process easier for couples, in the sense of, the energy that it takes to plan and decide on what you're doing a lot of times even prevents couples from having date night. And so we just thought, maybe we can take that portion of the burden and maybe the why couples aren't spending more time together away and make it easy. And so, yeah, we've done that. Our community now is over 25,000 couples that are doing date night once a month together. And so it's been really fun to just see couples standing up and saying, hey, we want our marriage and our relationship to matter as well. And we want to take a stand and be intentional for that. So, yeah, it's really just a community of people that are committed to that mission and committed to their marriages and relationships.
That's awesome. And it's incredible to hear how many couples are involved. That's such a great testimony and impact. I think, and I know we have couples in our lives that through the years have gone through similar situations, and it's always it feels like it's always a wake up call. Like, wow, are we on that same track? Are we, could that be us? And I think a lot of times people wait too long before they start asking that question. It's, oh man, we're at this point where we're not, like you said, we're drifting away. We're in separate. There's been infidelity. There's been some other thing that's going on, And so what I appreciate about what you're doing is kind of pushing that question to couples before they get to that point and saying, hey, listen, yes, going on a date is not the end all be all solve every marriage problem, but man, it puts the relationship back at the center and it makes you be intentional. And it can be as simple as taking that once a month.
Yeah.
Like that has a huge impact. Because I know for me, like I pursued my wife much better when we weren't married. You know, I mean, like trying to get her to notice me and woo her and win her and all that. And it's easy for, I think, from a husband's perspective, be like, well, I don't need to do that anymore. Like we're married.
Right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's so easy to become complacent, and I think really, you hit the nail on the head. It's a marriage or a relationship. It always seems sudden when it comes crumbling down, like our friend's marriage had, but it's rarely a sudden thing. It's a slow, it's a slow breakdown over time that is a result of a lot of small decisions that you made along the way that may be intentional or unintentional. And certainly, like you said, date night once a month is not going to keep a relationship together. It's not going to solve all problems. But the way that I like to look at it, I kind of liken it to, when you're focused on your health. I find when I'm going to the gym and working out, I tend to eat better because my mindset is there. And, when I'm not going to the gym or when I'm not eating healthier, the other one suffers as well. And so, we really just see DateBox as an opportunity to say, hey, what's one thing that we can that we can do and that couples can engage with that may set the mindset, and shift how they think about a lot of other areas of their relationship. And if we can just be that thing that keeps it top of mind, we believe that other areas of the relationship and marriage will be impacted as well and result in a greater outcome for a couple. So that's kind of how we view and approach that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Brett, what kind of stories do you guys get to hear, as an organization of just the impact you're having on marriages, around the country and around the world?
Yeah. It's been cool. I mean, there's tons of different stuff, right? Like, I mean, we hear from couples all the time that's like, hey, this is really our last chance. Like we're going to try and spend time together. Our marriage is not in a good spot, and they're very vulnerable about what they're sharing with us and where they're at, which is really cool. And getting to follow up with some of those couples and ask if DateBox has helped and how their quality time together has been going. We've heard even crazy stories from like, man, we got DateBox and 9 months later we had a kid. So we have even like proclaimed DateBox babies out there that people have emailed in and said like, hey, we got your indoor camp out and we built a fort and like lit a candle, and the next thing we know, little Jimmy showed up.
Is that a different level?
No pun intended.
Is that a different level of packaging that is like you have to pay more for that?
For the DateBox baby?
No. Yeah, right. No, I mean, typically, yeah, we might just get a canceled user because they no longer have the money to pay for our product because they got a kid on the way. But no, yeah, it's just a standard date, and I think it's just a testament to like couples taking time to connect and and the intimacy that creates and the conversation and especially for a wife, like I just find that for my wife, it's never really about what we're doing. It's just always that we're spending time together and that there's that connection there and that intimacy that we're able to draw to, that makes a difference. And so we just always encourage couples that like, there's a lot of things that you could do, but at the end of the day, it just matters that you're sitting and carving out that time together. And if that's your mindset heading into the experience, then I think ultimately it's a positive thing. And so, we hear from couples that are embracing that and that they understand that. And really the activity is anecdotal to the time that you're able to spend together through the process.
Did you ever expect that 3 years ago, 25,000 couples? This has exploded, right? Did you ever expect that this would be such a huge success?
Yes and no. Yes, because I tend to be like super optimistic person, like to a fault. I would say that my wife would definitely say that I think everything is going to work out perfectly and like no matter what it is. So yeah, that was my hope and my goal. And obviously like you start something with a vision of it becoming big and something that people love. And so I think that there's obviously dreams of that. But seeing that actually manifest itself is obviously a whole nother thing. And it is cool to see couples resonate with that vision. It's a really surreal feeling to see product arriving on Instagram that couples are using and that they're excited about, and that you hope is having that meaningful impact in a relationship or a marriage. So, we have a lot of hopes for where DateBox is headed. We think it's something that that couples will hopefully continue to enjoy using. But yeah, it's been really fun to see, how many couples have joined our community and made that part of their life for sure.
That's awesome. Well, you guys, through DateBox are clearly impacting so many couples. How are you and Devin staying intentional? Whether with your date night or just your marriage specifically through this.
Yeah, it's kind of funny actually. I talk to close friends a lot about this, and we get asked questions a lot about that, and it's easy for people to think that, like, because you have this business or you create this product, that like you've got it figured out. And I think it's important to know that Devin and I, like, we were customers number one, right? Like the whole business and the whole company and brand exists because we had the problem first. And so we continue to have that struggle today of, like, we both run businesses, we both are super busy and travel a lot. And, we're still very much a part of that community trying to figure out what that looks like. And so, for us, we don't have kids yet. And so for us, it's a little bit easier in our free time to find that quality time. And especially now that we're making it a priority. But there is a lot of times that you feel like, you have imposter syndrome a little bit in terms of, like, man, there are moments where you feel like you're encouraging other people through your content or, through videos or through conversations with customers that, like, you should be making this a priority. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of days for us that we don't feel like it's a huge priority or that we're not doing a great job in that still. And so it is a constant thing. And I think, it's something that you never really arrive in or figure out. It's just sort of something that continues to be a high focus for us. But yeah, it is a tough thing, and life just gets in the way sometimes. And so for us, we always try and view ourselves just as part of our community and sort of just another DateBox couple that deals with the same things as everybody else. So yeah, we're certainly no experts on the topic, but we try and live it out as best we can and make that a priority. But we certainly fall short, just like everybody else.
Yeah, and there's two things that kind of came up to me when you were talking, and I think whether you're two busy entrepreneurs like you guys are, running around and doing business, or you've got lots of kids, or you've got church. I mean, there's always things that can get in the way of making your date a priority. So one, just kind of hearing a little bit more on that. And then two, even when you go on a date, I know that sometimes my wife and I have had trouble. We'll get away with, like, okay, we've got 3 kids, so we set things up. So we'll get away for like an hour and a half, make it easy for our sitter. And then we end up talking about, like, the things that need to get done around the house. Like, all right, hey, when we get back, have we done laundry? Have you done that laundry? No, okay. And it doesn't actually become, it's time away, but it's not really connecting. So how do you, what would you say to making a priority for the date in the first place, but then also when you're on that date, what should that be about?
Yeah, I mean, I think that could take a lot of different forms. Like, as far as making it a priority, I think, we hear from couples all the time that say, hey, we carve out a specific time every week where it's like non-negotiable that we're spending time together. And I know that works for a lot of couples. We've tried that at times, and it hasn't really been conducive for us. We hear from a lot of couples, and we do this as well, where we'll put time on our actual physical calendars. So, in and amongst everything else that we're scheduling and trying to get done, and people that are asking for time or commitments or things that we want to go and do, in the midst of all that, we try and put like an actual physical time block on our calendars that says, like, no, this is time for date night. And so if anything else comes up, we're just reminded that time is unavailable. And so, like you said, when you have kids and stuff, that brings a whole new dynamic that we're not currently dealing with, and that, there are things outside of the two of you that can take away that time, and there may not always be the choice. But I would say, one, just apply a lot of grace to that situation. I think it's really easy to get frustrated, and obviously we're the biggest advocates for consistent quality time, but we're also the most realistic in that can't always happen, and there needs to be a lot of grace for both sides of the marriage in that things do come up and things are oftentimes out of your control. And the main thing is to be forgiving and understanding in that moment, and then make the best effort to find a different time to spend together. As far as once you're on the date night, though, I think that can take a lot of different forms. Like, a big part of your relationship is administering your life together. And while that shouldn't be everything, for a lot of times, especially, couples that I talk to and experiences that I've heard, a lot of times that's what the wife wants, is to catch up the husband on everything that's going around in the house or in the home, or we haven't had an opportunity to connect in a week or so, and even conversations about what's going on in the household, or did you do this or did I do that, like, can sometimes just bring the mindset in the relationship to a resting place where then you can get into other stuff. And a lot of times we have so much going on in our lives that we can't even think beyond all the responsibilities that we have as a couple. And so, even part of connecting is just getting on the same page about all the things that you guys do have to do together. And that can oftentimes make, both sides of the relationship feel heard and feel supported, which can lead to greater intimacy, either later on in the evening, later on in the week, month, whatever it is. So I think, however it is as a couple that you need to realign, I think just being open and honest in that time that you have together about what that is, and also not being afraid to just take that conversation where you feel like you need it to go, or where you feel like your spouse could use it to go as well. I think constantly heading into a date night praying about what conversation is going to be impactful for Devin, what emotional, physical needs that she might have that aren't being met right now, and how can I use that time to best serve her through that date night, and make sure that we are realigned, and that she knows that I care about her and I'm thinking about her, and I'm trying to be intentional about how I perceive things that she's going through, or things that she may want to talk about, or challenges that she's dealing with in her day to day, or things around the house that have been difficult for us to maintain. All those things can take different forms. I think more so it's just asking the Lord to come in and help you perceive what those things are that are going to best serve your spouse or your partner, through that time together.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Better Together is the podcast that you and Devin have that you guys just started that in, was that last year?
Yeah, it was last year. We did season 1, and then we actually lost our producer from our team here, so it's going to come back soon. But yeah, there's 8 episodes on there.
Okay.
It's really fun. It's really casual. We typically will interview a couple, and we'll do live Q&A from our audience. So we take 3 questions per episode and just talk about different topics, and we get audience questions answered. So it's been really cool. There's oftentimes not a safe or easy or unintimidating place to ask tough questions. And so Better Together is just really, we've tried to create an environment where that can be done, anonymously. You can hear answers from experts and people who have studied marriage and relationships, and even just, normal day-to-day couples like ourselves that maybe don't have expertise but are living it out, and can maybe share some insights. So yeah, Better Together has been really fun. We're excited to launch season 2 and have some more awesome guests on the show.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I love that resource, and I love the live. Well, I won't get into the secret sauce. I mean, you vet those questions out? Do they have any time to prep, or is it like the 5, take 5? They just shoot them those questions right there on the spot?
Yeah. So we will send them the questions ahead of time. So we have our listeners submit the questions.
That's probably better. That's probably fair.
Yeah, I mean, and we mainly made that decision because we wanted couples listening to the show to get the best possible advice. Mm-hmm. And so, some people just aren't great at thinking on the fly and answering the question to the best of their ability if they don't have time to think about what that appropriate answer might be. And so for us, we just wanted to be a deeper resource that couples could really press into, and that we're making sure we're getting the best out of those guests in terms of, the insights that they're sharing with those couples to kind of help them in their marriage. So
that's cool.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Brett, as we wrap up, can you just tell the listener and viewer out there, like, what is DateBox all about? Kind of like if they would, sign up today, what would it entail?
Yeah. So from a product standpoint, I mean, DateBox, like overall, the phrase that we constantly use both as a team and in our marketing is that relationships matter. And so that can mean a lot of different things. For us right now, it means date night. And just the mindset of taking back and claiming that our marriages and relationships matter. From a product standpoint, you sign up and it's a monthly subscription. So you pay $30 to $40 a month, and we deliver a date night one time a month for you. So they're designed to be at-home experiences. So it's a little bit of an alternative to like just flipping on Netflix and, watching a show on a Tuesday night, turning off the TV and just being intentional and connecting with your spouse or your partner. So you sign up, it's $30 to $40 a month. You create an account with us and you get to kind of personalize your experience. So we ask you questions about, your likes and your dislikes and some of your interests and personality characteristics of the relationship. And then our platform matches you with the best experience for your relationship each month, depending on who you are. So you get a box, and it includes everything that you need for that date night. Each experience is typically designed to be between an hour or two, so it's not something that's like crazy going to take up your whole day, but it is long enough to be meaningful and kind of step out of your day-to-day chaos and just connect. And so we have a lot of different experiences. We have everything from, a professional sushi chef teaching you how to make sushi in your house to an escape game to, canvas painting and cake pops. And as I mentioned, the indoor camp out earlier is one of our popular ones. And there's, new lives being born from that one quite frequently. So if that's what you're looking for, make sure and send us a note that you're interested in that one. But yeah, there's all sorts of different things. And so we have a lot of fun with it, and our team is really, really great at creating those experiences for our couples and be intentional about how those are crafted and hopefully creating meaningful moments for our couples.
I want to know how we can get Lancaster on your city list.
Yes,
that's
we were
the next
discussing
question.
that prior to having you on.
Yeah, so we're actually launching an app later this year that will help couples curate better dates in their city. So we're even shifting how we think about couples going out and doing date nights in their cities too. We're trying to really foster better local creativity. So it is going to look a little bit different than the at-home dates in terms of the product and the subscription aspect of it. But yeah, be sure and follow us on social media. We're at Get Datebox, and we're going to be making some announcements in the coming months about an app that's going to kind of help couples go out and have date night better in their city as well.
That's awesome. I was listening to an interview. I think it was a podcast you did. I'm not sure how long ago, but just talking about kind of those early days of Datebox, and you and family and friends are just probably in your living room or garage or wherever, just packing these boxes. That was kind of a cool story to hear. And now to see where you guys are now. How big is the team today?
So overall, I think we're between 60, 65 right now.
Okay.
Our team, a lot of that's warehouse operations. So we do pack and process every day internally on our team. So I think we're 20 or 22 full time, and then about 40 to 45 in the warehouse. So yeah, it's been, 3 years ago, I was driving around as a salesman in my car, like spending the whole day by myself. And now somehow supposed to figure out what 60 people are supposed to do. But we've got great leaders, and honestly, so much of running a business is just finding people who you can trust and who share the same vision as you. And so we have an awesome team, and many days it feels like the easiest thing I've ever done, because those people are shouldering so much of the responsibility and really what makes Datebox go. So it's been fun. We have an awesome team, and team dynamics is always a fun thing to build and craft and try and steward, and getting people to constantly buy into what you value and where you want to see the company go is always a fun daily challenge and something that never stops. So yeah, we're building and just trying to take one step after the next.
Awesome, man. Well, we love what you guys are doing with Datebox, man. You guys are making a difference in the world. It's
likewise.
It's encouraging to see. Thank you. Yeah, we are fans of you. We're following you on Instagram. I know myself personally, Justin. He's too cool for Instagram. He's not on there. So
I'm in terms of social media, I'm perpetually falling off that top step of the bus.
Oh yeah,
just that's my life on social media.
His trumpet's going flying off.
His trumpet's rolling down the bus lane.
Yeah.
Awesome, Brett. Well, it was an honor to have you on, man. We're thankful for just your time. I know you're a busy man, and just sharing your heart about not only your personal journey, but you and Devin's passion for seeing marriages restored and thriving, and just to hear what Datebox is doing as well. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was great to be on. I really appreciate the invite, and it was fun chatting with you guys.
Awesome. We're going to wrap up here in just a couple minutes, if you don't mind hanging on and while we close it out.
Sure, absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Episode 28, man. That was cool. It was awesome to have Brett on.
Yeah,
we're thankful for his time. What's going on with Men of Iron these days?
Man, we're coming up on our big launch for the spring, March 30th. Petra Church. Oh, it's coming.
Yeah, we're going to have our mentor and protege training here in Lancaster, PA for what, I don't know, around 250, 300 men?
4 million.
4 million men, yeah. It's our biggest training of the year, so we're excited to see.
I'm in fundraising, so I tend to exaggerate.
You don't care about the ministry side. You just care about the money coming in.
Oh, that's rough.
For more info on the podcast, you can go to menofiron.org/MOI podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify. You can watch the video version on our Facebook and YouTube page. Thank you to today's sponsor, Mill 72 Bake Shop and Cafe, and our special guest, Brett Kolomyjec. You can go to getdatebox.com to find out more, and find them on Instagram at getdatebox, or follow Brett as well at Brett Kolomyjec. Thank you guys. Episode 28, we're out.